Well, let's start the year off with everyone's favorite topic, prices going up. And right now we have a new report that's making the rounds that I'll admit I had to double take looking at it with the price jump that they were floating there, but looking around more and more as to what's happening, especially when it comes to the global DRAM supply and the push that seems to be accelerating on the AI side, especially with some of these companies and the amount of money that's going getting thrown around. It's actually not that hard to believe, though. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And I wanted to bring this up just especially for anyone out there who is thinking about upgrading or even buying a GPU. This might be the time to do it because this might actually be the lowest we see prices for quite some time. But I'm going to go over all that with you guys here today. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. So let's take a look over here. We're going to start with some context, some backstory. OpenAI's Stargate project to consume up to 40% of global DRAM output. And you've probably been hearing about how AI and like these companies like OpenAI are just eating up all the DRAM output, or almost the majority of it. 40% of global DRAM output for OpenAI alone is staggering, right? And you see Ink's deal with Samsung and SK Hynix, who you've probably heard come up quite a bit in those discussions, to the tune of up to 900,000 wafers per month. It's important to note here they're just looking for undiced wafers. That's how many they like the volume that they're looking at. I mean, they say it highlights the vast volumes of memory and other components that Stargate needs is absurd. I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around how much they need for these data centers. Again, the fact that it's affecting 40% of the total DRAM output like is like mind-blowing for that, right? So you think about DDR5, you think about even like DDR4 to an extent, as they even mentioned low power DDR4, low power DDR5, HBM, just different kinds of memory that would be affected here. That, as I mentioned, with a trickle-down effect, means that on the consumer grade level, we're going to see prices increase because there's just less left after all of this for us. Now, with this in mind, again, this was from October 1st. And think about when you started to see prices for DDR5, DDR4, any of this stuff going up. This is for DDR4, by the way. I'm not even bothering to pull up DDR5. You know where we are with that. But the fact that DDR4 is even seeing kind of a price surge right now, this is just for there's two 8 GB sticks of DDR4 3200. All right. And you look at where it was, this was in June. So over the summer, you could get a pair, so 16 gigabytes, a pair of 8 GB sticks. It was less than $60. It was closer to $50 than anything else. And now look where we are. This is December. We're up to 110 or so dollars. And I did look around on eBay, which eBay is also affected by these prices, even though it's used. Those prices also go up alongside of this, and that's usually how you're going to find DDR4 now anyway, for the most part. But just about across the board, DDR4 is getting more expensive, and I think a lot of that has to do with the demand coming off of DDR5 and moving to DDR4 in that used market, right? So people are going, why would I spend more than a PS5 on 32 gigabytes DDR5 when I can work backwards to an older platform, maybe like AM4, and just have DDR4 paired with it? That's good enough. And that's probably going to be a phrase we'll hear more and more as we go along. Good enough. And it's weird that PC is kind of becoming a home for that phrase now, because for the longest time, PC, you went to that platform to go all out with maybe a nice GPU and a nice processor, and sure, you'd spend maybe $1,000 or more on that build, so it was more expensive than a console, but it felt more expensive. Like, you got just significantly better performance. Now we're talking about RAM that is the same price as a PlayStation 5. So it's kind of losing that luster of you spend a little more, but it makes sense. Now you spend a whole lot more and it really doesn't make much sense just because prices have been going up. This project Stargate is an interesting one, all right, because this is for OpenAI, and it's just now really starting up. So over the last year and a half, it's kind of been in this planning phase, and also them kind of going around the political planning phase, just trying to grease some palms and whatever they can do to be able to essentially pull together about $500 billion. That's the amount of money that's being invested into this project, and it's planned to run through 2029 with that investment. So, yeah, that's kind of the next 3 to 4 years is what we're looking at right now. And that becomes a problem because we've talked about next generation consoles being affected by the DRAM shortage, and it is. It like there's no way it wouldn't be in this case. So the idea of them delaying consoles into 2029 or 2030 might align with this. It depends. Maybe they need more and they got to build more data centers. They got to put them in space or in the ocean or wherever. And the whole point of this is these companies believe that they are going to get to artificial general intelligence, and that when they do, things will really accelerate. There's the theory of like the launch pad phase where AI starts working on AI, millions of instances, and then it just churns and churns and churns, and AI starts self-improving. Now they think that'll eventually get us to utopia, or it could be Skynet. We'll flip a coin when we get there, I guess, see how that turns out. But the point is, they're all in because they believe there is this incredible future, this incredible discovery, just a few years off. All right. So with that in mind, NVIDIA at the forefront, at the center of all of this AI stuff. They are the ones providing the chips, and that's how it goes. They don't have to worry about will AI work out because they're already selling the chips. They're already incredibly valuable. They're well known for gaming, and I know now they are more all in and valuable on the AI side. But when it comes to gaming, they are they're almost a quintessential. People look at them and go, "Yep, that's Nvidia. They got GeForce and their GPUs. They've been around for a long, long time." Well, the two companies, AMD and Nvidia, plan to not only raise prices once, but also begin phased price adjustments over the next few months. As a result, prices can be raised not only for consumer GPUs, but also for expensive GPUs used in artificial intelligence, AI data centers, and servers. And by the way, $500 billion says they don't really care that much on the AI side. They will pay what they need to pay. We do kind of care because if prices shoot up 100% on GPUs, yeah, we're going to feel that. And we might be like, you know what? I'm good for now. Yeah, 1080p doesn't sound bad for PC now looking at some of these prices. Even 1440p is relatively manageable with mid-range GPUs at this time. And looking at the Steam hardware surveys, that seems like that's what most people play at anyway. Let me know down in the comments what resolution you're playing right now on PC, because for me, I have a widescreen at 1440p, and I think it's some of the best experiences you can have in gaming is with a nice ultra widescreen display at 1080p or 1440p. It's such a unique experience compared to what we have even on consoles that don't really have that benefit. They are talking about a price point that sounded absurd to me. The RTX 5090, NVIDIA's flagship product, shipped at the beginning of this year at $2,000. They're saying it's expected to soar to $5,000. So that's what, a 150% price increase. And I see the $5,000, and that's what's getting thrown around right now. It's ridiculous. $5,000. Why would you even sell that in stores? Well, as we mentioned, the DRAM squeeze right now is on, and the 5090 has 32 gigabytes of GDDR7, and that's quite expensive. So that is the part that I think is really weighing down the 5090. But here's the good news: most people don't need the 5090. Okay, so it's good news and bad news technically, because the good news is, hey, the 5090, I'm okay with a 5070. Sure. But the 5090 going up to $5,000 is going to have an effect on the market, much like we see right now with DDR4, where DDR5 gets more expensive, so people turn to other means like DDR4, and prices for that go up. So I think the 5090 or even the RX9 with the 9070 XT right now, that was more fairly priced. That's a $700 card if you want to pick that up even from like their board partners and stuff. So like an MSI card or something. And when you see that and you go, would that turn into a $1,000 card? Would it turn into a $1,200 card? The point is, everything else then below it would most likely creep up in price as well, because they all use VRAM too. So the 5080 is 16 gigabytes of DDR7. That's also very expensive. So I'm envisioning a lot of these cards to most likely go up anywhere from 50% to 100%, like an actual doubling. I think the $5,000 is them just kind of putting the high end out there. I really wanted to get this out there because if you're considering putting a PC together or you're considering upgrading your GPU, I mean, this might be the time. And I don't think it's necessary to get a 4090 or a 5090. I think most people would be fine with like even honestly, a 4060 Ti or a 4070 or a 5070. You don't need this crazy 32 gigabyte VRAM card. It's just unnecessary for most people. Now, if you're somebody who has three ultra wide monitors and you're aiming for some crazy resolution, okay, you know what? Maybe you do need that. But for many people, you're okay even going a generation or two back. I mean, I look at some of these prices now, and this might be the last time you see a 9070 XT at 570, and this is a Micro Center. I usually look at Micro Center as kind of getting a temperature check for the market where some of these prices are. So even the 5090, it's something you can find. Let's see. I thought I saw one that was 2 grand, unless the prices went up while I was on camera looking at this. I mean, there's 2000, okay, 2750. Man, it really it's tough out here. Jeez, okay. Well, there, at least for Micro Center, apparently it's $2,700. I feel like I saw Best Buy with one at $2,000. That might have been on sale. So there you go. It's already kind of going up in price now. And the unfortunate thing is I don't know when relief would kick in for this, unless AI really struggled and something happened and they just kind of abandoned it. I think they're full speed ahead, and I think it's going to be a continuous thing for the next couple of years. And my so the here's where I think this could at least work in our favor because of the current DRAM crunch. You might have developers go, well, look, man, this thing has to work with a device that has 8 gigabytes of VRAM available to it. That's just the video cards that are most common right now. So we need to work within those constraints, which I'd like to assume means that we just get, I mean, maybe just better optimized games. And maybe that's just me being a bit too optimistic or just hopeful with the whole thing. But they really don't have a lot of options if people just legitimately cannot afford to buy any of these cards or upgrade. They're just going to kind of hang out with what they have unless the market gets creative with things like these upscaling techniques that seems like Sony and AMD working together. That's one of their big pushes right now. And I'm hoping that is kind of the direction, at least currently, because that's the reality of the situation as we see these prices go up, especially if we get to the end of the year and there really is somehow a $5,000 NVIDIA 5090 on the market. A lot of the cards that follow underneath of that are jumping as well. And that's gonna be an interesting scenario to see play out. But let me know what you guys think about all of this down below in the comments. Would it shock you if video cards really did jump 100% in terms of pricing? And then what's your strategy for that? Are you good with what you have now, or are you someone racing to upgrade as soon as possible before all of this kicks in going into the new year? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.